All right, I am now joined by not only one of my favorite people in Cowboys Nation, but probably one of my favorite people in general in Kyle Youmans. And we had Kyle on, I think it was like 3 years ago when you were just a young pup before you were married. And now here you are taking over the internet, calling the Cowboys games on TV, calling draft day. I mean, what a time to be Kyle Youmans. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. I feel like ever since draft weekend in April, it just took off. I mean, it was draft weekend, and then I got married a weekend after that. Then went to the honeymoon, got a little bit of time off, and then right back into the swing of things. Come football season, blessed to have the chance to get to call that game on Saturday. Excited to do some more booth work this week as the color analyst in Seattle, and so man, it's a dream come true. I'm having a blast and continue to try and churn out some good content for Cowboys Nation.
Well, it is well earned. You are doing a phenomenal job, my friend. So, first things first, it's the thing that everyone's talking about, right? It's the camp fight. So take us a little bit behind the scenes. I know you were there. Everything we're hearing, this has kind of been fuming. It always does in camp.
Yeah.
Apparently, Tyler Biadasz, which I kind of love, has been behind a lot of this. So talk to us a little bit behind what happened.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time coming, and there were points in camp where we would kind of look at each other and said, "Wow, we haven't had a scrum or a skirmish just yet. We haven't had the pushing and shoving to at least an extreme extent like we did during Wednesday's practice, which was fun from really the jump. It was high intensity. Mike McCarthy said he wanted to turn up the heat, and you could see the heat was turned up quite a bit. And yeah, the first skirmish happened it started between Sam Williams and Brock Hoffman. And Brock Hoffman through camp has now emerged as one of the elite trash talkers of the group. I mean, he
Love
likes
that.
to talk. He likes to get after some of these guys, and it's really apparent the fact that he will get under your skin a
Mhm.
little bit. And Sam Williams is quite the same. I think Sam Williams is cut from the same cloth as a Micah Parsons and a Jaron Curse on the defensive side. There's jawing back and forth, and that's been a theme I think throughout. Is the defense has set the tone. The defense has been dominant, and now I feel like in the latter parts of practices, in the latter part of camp, it's turned into the offense is tired of being pushed around. And it started with Brock Hoffman and Sam Williams. Hoffman won the first rep. Sam Williams was not really excited about the way that he continued blocking him after the snap. Williams tried to rip his hands away, and then all of a sudden, that's where it kind of started to snowball because Sam Williams got another rep, got up to the line of scrimmage, fell down. As soon as the snap happened, he fell, just slipped, lost his footing. He said, "Forget this, I'm going
Do it
again."
again.
Got right back up to it, and then Sam Williams won the next rep. So Hoffman won one, Sam Williams slipped on the second one, and then Williams won the third one. So he got underneath him on a rip and then was there for what would have been a sack. And then all of a sudden, Hoffman took offense to it. Sam Williams came in, looked like he was about to hit Sam Williams.
Yep.
Enters Tyler Biadasz, and Biadasz decleats Sam Williams. It was really an interesting scenario because Williams was going to hold back. He looked like he was going to swing at Hoffman first, but he restrained himself, and you could see it prior to
Hmm.
Tyler Biadasz, who probably saw him winding up and decleated Sam Williams to try and avoid a punch, even though Williams pulled back regardless. Um, that was the initial skirmish, and then as soon as that happened, both offense and defense came together. They were really in the middle of it all. The drill continued without problem. They got into team drills, and then all of a sudden, it was Tyler Biadasz again that kept holding on to Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons took offense to it, trying to come up to Tyler Biadasz just the way that Sam Williams was doing with Brock Hoffman. And he took offense, I think, to the way that Biadasz handled that situation. So Micah
Yep.
Parsons threw a couple blows, and then they went after it yet again. But it goes back to what you kind of talked about is it's been building up. I mean, these are two very competitive units. Their team. This is a team that knows what the expectation, what the pressure is. You want that lethal mentality. You want that killer
Yep.
instinct. And both of those units, including the guys that were involved in those fights, I think it was a positive to see them get after it a little bit, and it was fun to watch.
And that's kind of what I loved about afterwards, hearing the quote from Jaron Curse, right? He said all 32 teams, and everyone's like, wait, there's only 31 others. He goes, no, no, no. I'm including our
He,
offense in those
he
teams.
knew
We
what
ain't
he was
messing around. And when
saying.
we step on the field, this is what's happening.
Oh yeah, Yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing with that quote, and I've seen the same responses. Oh, doesn't he know there's only 31 other teams? He's like, oh no, I knew exactly what I was saying when I said 32. He said whether it's our offense or another offense, nobody gets the better of our defense. Like that's what the mentality is, and this is going to be one of the better defenses in the
That's what
league.
I
And
wanted to. Can this defense be special? Like
yeah,
49ers last year defense special.
and I think it would be unfair to really pin them as an all-time great defense, but they have a chance to be in that category. I mean, they're already they're the first team in the NFL to lead the league in takeaways in back-to-back years since the 1970s Steelers, and the Steelers won the Super Bowl in the third year of leading the NFL in takeaways. So if they did it again and they were able to kind of replicate that success, then all of a sudden you're talking about the 2020 Cowboys defenses, the early 20s defenses of the Cowboys is one of the best in NFL history, the Dan Quinn led Dallas defense. And so it has a chance to be special, no doubt. Now that's lofty expectations to be compared to the Steel Curtain, no doubt about it. But the way that they've built this roster from a talent standpoint, there's playmakers at every single level, up front, second level, third level. There's youth meshing with the veterans. There's a lot to be excited about on that unit, and I think this offense has had enough of it in practice, and they're ready to see that those best 11 guys go after another 11 and not the offense on their own side of things.
Amen. As my ring light goes out. Love it. All right. Talk to me about Jalen Tolbert. Obviously, you had the video that went viral with the unbelievable catch that he had last year, right? As a rookie, it just seemed like at this point in camp, he had the injury, he was behind, and then he just seemed like everything was a little bit too big for him, maybe. Now he seems to be attacking the football and is putting out what we saw on tape from South Alabama.
Yeah.
Should we be very excited for Jalen Tolbert and him being wide receiver 4 this season?
I think he's distanced himself from the rest of the pack in that wide receiver 4 room, and some would argue Kevontae Turpin, but Turpin hasn't had the as clean of a camp as Tolbert has. Tolbert's been consistent and he's made the big plays. Turpin started hot. He made some big plays early, but he's had some drops. He's had some miscues. Of course, you saw the fumble in the preseason game on the punt return. So there's some things there, but I think Tolbert elevating to the role that you anticipated him to possibly have in 2022 is a huge thing for this offense, because all of a sudden he's not expected to be wide receiver 2. Without Michael Gallup in the fold last year and as a top 100 pick, the early expectation was Jalen Tolbert was going to step in and automatically be the number 2 to CeeDee Lamb. That never happened. Instead, it was Noah Brown up until Michael Gallup returned, and even Michael Gallup struggled at times in the offense. So having him in the fold with now a healthy Michael Gallup, an addition in Brandon Cooks, and then, of course, a wide receiver 1 ready CeeDee Lamb, I think it only helps the possibilities for this offense and for the passing game to open up. I also really think he fits well in the West Coast scheme that Mike McCarthy is really implementing. I think he's good within 10 yards. I think he's a good route runner. He's able to win at the line of scrimmage. He has some separation ability to him. So if you're able to do that and get the ball out quick, I think he's going to be a target they'll look for quite a bit, and it's something that this offense can look forward to.
Now, you are obviously live in Oxnard. We're moving on to Seattle now and then heading home to Frisco after that. But Zach is back, right?
Yeah.
What has there been a little bit level of excitement around there? What has it been like since the big man stepped on campus?
Yeah, I think the 2 practices speak for itself. I think all of a sudden the intensity was ramped up a little bit, not because you're competing for a job per se with Zach Martin returning, but just because you have another leader in that locker room. You have another leader in your meetings and your playbook, and things of the sort are talked about a little bit more. So I think it has changed things. Even Mike McCarthy said when they said that the deal was done in the coaches' meeting room, that the meeting erupted in elation just to have Zach back in the fold. So it's exciting to have him back. He was definitely missed up front. I think his knowledge, his leadership is something that this team really needed if they were going to really make a run the way that they expect to. So now that he's taken care of, he's happy. The front office is happy. The entire offensive line is happy to have him back. now I think you can really put your eyes forward to the regular season. And he's got about a month to get ready for it, too. I mean, it feels late in the process, but from the time that he arrived at camp, he's got about 25 days to get ready for the opener against the Giants. And that's enough time for an all-pro to get ready for the season.
And we know he's been getting ready. He's been working out with Duke down in Dallas. So we're excited about that. All right. So you mentioned earlier you're going to be doing some color in Seattle, preseason game 2. Obviously, Deuce stole the show in preseason game number 1. So who are a couple guys you're looking for to kind of take that next step this weekend in Seattle?
Yeah, I think it starts with the first-round pick, Mazi Smith. I think having Mazi in the fold for 32 snaps in that first preseason game was a huge plus for this defense. He had 15 pass rush snaps and 17 snaps against the run, so he got plenty of work. Had some good, had some bad. I mean, ultimately, that's what it looked like for the rookie. He wasn't perfect, and of course, there's pressure on him to produce, but you also got to remember, I mean, he goes. It's an adjustment for everybody to go from game speed of the college level to the game speed of the pro level, especially for a bigger, stronger defensive lineman when the strength isn't the same and the level of speed isn't the same. So you're trying to adjust back and forth. I think he's going to be better equipped this time around whenever you face Seattle. Seattle's got a good offensive front. They've got some guys that they really like. Evan Brown up front, who is a South Lake product as well, I think is somebody that you could look for. He's been around the NFL quite a bit. He's going to challenge him. They've got some youth inside. I think Mazi's going to take advantage of that, and I think he'll show the strength a little bit more this week. He's shown it in practice a couple times. He's going to help stop the run for this Cowboys team against Zach Charbonnet and DJ Dallas. And so I'm looking for Mazi Smith. On the offensive side of the ball, I want to see more from the tight ends. I want to see, and I'm not necessarily talking about Jake Ferguson. I want to see more from Luke Schoonmaker, and I want to see more from John Stevens for 2 different reasons. Schoonmaker, he's got the expectation of being a second-round pick, and he's working his way back from injury. But I want to see more of how he can be involved in the run game as a blocker. I want to see more of how he can be involved in the passing game downfield. Can he stretch the field a little bit, or is mostly his target going to come from underneath the defense? And then John Stevens, it's mostly just keep it going. I mean, he's had such a great camp. He's shown out so much. I want to see if that momentum can continue, because if he starts stacking good performances on top of other good performances like he did last week against Jacksonville, then all of a sudden I think you're talking about John Stevens as a legitimate force in this passing game and somebody that I think could make the 53-man roster.
So that brings me to a question I was already have on my list here to ask you. It's a perfect segue. Is Peyton Hendershot in trouble?
No, I really don't think so. I think there's an opportunity to use both guys. And some would argue the blocking ability needs to see an uptick, and I don't necessarily disagree. But I think, if anything, it's Sean McEwen versus John Stevens. I think they would hold on to John Stevens, Peyton Hendershot together, along with Ferguson and Schoonmaker, who are locks at the tight end position. You're not going to get rid of either one of those 2 guys. So really, it comes down to that 3rd spot and the 4th spot, and I think it's easier for me to look at it and say Hendershot and Stevens more so than Stevens and McEwen. Over Hendershot. I think Hendershot's he's a borderline lock at the 3rd tight end spot, and then you've got a couple guys going after that 4th spot.
Love it. All right, we're gonna play a game here. So everybody knows F, Marry, Kill, right? So we're gonna play active practice squad cut.
Okay.
3 guys.
Okay.
Jalen Brooks, Wanye Thomas, and John Stevens.
Oh man, that's tough.
Yep.
Active practice squad cut. That's the 3.
Active practice squad off the team.
Active Jalen Brooks, just because I think he fits that 6th wide receiver role better.
Yep.
I think he's shown at camp that he has some ability to grow. And plus, he brings something different that the wide receivers have. He has size and length, and you're not going to get that from Turpin. You won't get that for the most part from Tolbert, even Brandon Cooks. Really, the length you have in the wide receiver room is Michael Gallup and it's CeeDee Lamb, and neither one of those guys are really known as long and lanky wide receivers. I think you're looking at Jalen Brooks as kind of a different mold. So I would say active for Jalen Brooks. This is tough.
I know.
Because both of these guys have had really good camps. I'm going to say practice squad John Stevens cut Wanye Thomas. And let me
Okay.
explain that too. It goes back to what I said about John Stevens. I think there's a chance he makes the roster, but there's also a chance he misses it just because of a loaded forefront at tight end. So I think it's possible you could stash him on the roster. Where Wanye Thomas, you're not only talking about a crowded room at safety, but you're talking about a crowded room at DB as well. You've got
Exactly.
usually you'll take 6 corners, you'll take 4 safeties, and right now
Yep.
your 4 safeties are taken up by Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson, and Jaron Kearse. So now you've got just one spot for guys like Wanye Thomas, Marquise Bell, Tyler Coyle, Israel Mukwamu. If you want to put Mukwamu maybe as a hybrid corner and just throw
DB.
him
Yep.
into the mix because of the versatility, I'd understand that as well. But that there's names there. I think it'd be more likely to see him not make the roster than than John Stevens not make the practice squad, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. I knew that wasn't going to be an easy one for you.
That was
So that's
not
why I had
easy.
to throw it out there.
I don't think either one of those things are going to happen to any of those guys. Like I don't think those 3 guys are going to have to worry about it. I think they've all really solidified at least a bit of a role with this team to where they'll either be an active squad guy or a
Yep.
practice squad guy, or at least try and be protected as one.
Love it. All right, last one for me. So we've talked a lot about rookies, right? Let's talk about a couple veterans that this team brought in. I think Brandon Cook's speed has been evident in camp, and I think he's going to have such an impact. And Stephon Gilmore's just his smarts, his intelligence. I mean, CeeDee Lamb said he's the smartest corner he's ever gone against, and it's really annoying. Who do you think has a bigger impact for this team this season?
Ooh, that's another tough one. I'm going to say Brandon Cooks, just because I think this defense was already special last year. I think they've shown that the last 2 years with Trayvon Diggs and company. Stephon really helps the depth. I think Brandon Cooks helps the play calling. I think Brandon Cooks opens up the playbook a little bit more on offense than Stephon Gilmore would on defense. I think both of them are going to have a massive impact, and that's just it's more so. I think the offense has further to go, and I think Brandon Cooks can help them get there. Whereas Stephon Gilmore is already on a loaded defense. He's going to just elevate it even more than what it was previously. So that's kind of the answer to the question. But I think both of those guys, I really do expect a lot out of both of them. I think Stephon Gilmore is going to have a great return year. I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Cooks is in the conversation for a 1,000-yard season and continue to really put up big numbers too. He's had 1,000 yards in every first year that he's had in a franchise, except for his rookie year. So every time he's ended up in a new spot in the NFL, once he got in the NFL, he's had 1,000 yards. And I think that's definitely on the table if they can continue to keep him healthy and keep him involved in the offense.
Man, I am never one of those guys that say this is our year, but this team seems to be pulling me in for some reason because I think this is the team that I feel like since probably the Des caught it years where I think they legitimately, especially in this NFC, can get to an NFC championship game and win.
I think there's a long way to go in certain aspects. You look at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is still really good. Same thing with San Francisco. I mean, the two teams that you've either struggled to go up and get over the hump with, or the team that did get over the hump and at least go to the Super Bowl last year, they're both really good. So you're going to have to win some tough games. You're going to have to play some quarterbacks that are pretty good too along the way. You get to see Josh Allen. You get to see Justin Herbert. You get to see some of these really good quarterbacks even out of the AFC. But as long as you take care of business within the division, you take care of business in the NFC, and you try and get as many home games in the playoffs as you can coming up, I think this team has a shot and has the depth to really make a run and do something special. It's going to be a fun year because there's some high expectations.
Oh yeah.
And even if those expectations are high, I still think I would I'm trying to phrase this in a way that doesn't make the expectations absolutely go through the roof. I refuse to say the S word.
Yeah. That's why I said NFC championship game. I didn't even say the S word.
That. But even if those expectations for the SB word are not met, I think there's a chance you get really, really close to that and as long as everybody stays healthy and everybody stays connected.
Agreed. And yeah, there's a couple gauntlets in season that going out to California 2 weeks in a row for primetime games. It's going to make this team tough. All right, Kyle, before we get you out of here, let everybody know where they can listen and watch you during these preseason games, all your platforms on Dallas Cowboys, and how they can follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Kyle_Youmans. It's Youmans. And then, of course, like he said, I'll be on the broadcast call 9 p.m. Central Time. I wish it was a 9 a.m. kick. That'd be nice. 9 p.m. Central Time on Saturday. It's a little bit of a late start up in Seattle, but it should be a whole lot of fun to watch that one unfold because it's another good look at the team. I'll be on the color for that one. And then we come back home and you can catch us on DallasCowboys.com, Talking Cowboys as the podcast. And then we've got plenty of content coming your way.
Awesome, Kyle. We appreciate it. We will have you back on, especially during Hate Week. Don't worry, you'll be back. Thanks for the time, man.
Can't wait. Sounds good. Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yep. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things. I got 2 phones. Upset alert. Upset alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there.
There's no hope. Hope is gone. If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach. That is?
Be the team you promised me you were going to be this year.
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.